I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Yugara Turubul traditional owners of the land on which this story is being told, and elders both past and present. I also recognise those whose ongoing effort to protect and promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures will leave a lasting legacy for future elders and leaders. I begin my story here, travelling down the Brisbane River, South Bank on one side with the Eye of Brisbane, and the city on the other with its casino and grand office building. If the question is, how are First Australian people, culture and country represented in my neighbourhood? The short answer is, not very well. And if it is, it's well hidden. Brisbane was named after Governor Brisbane, and has the traditional name Mianjin, which refers to the spike of land near Kangaroo Point that runs under the Story Bridge. If I look around, I can see a number of suburbs. Woolloongabba comes from Woolloongkapum, which means whirling water, and refers to the series of waterholes that were originally located there. Not far away is Yugara, the traditional homeland of the Turubul people, and is derived from Yugara, a contraction of Yada Yugara, which means song and dance, and refers to the ceremonial dance site at Yugara. Sadly, despite the extremely practical nature of these place names, I would not have known their origins without doing research, and it's only with even deeper research that I find some trace of First Australian history. One of the oldest streets in Brisbane is Boundary Street, located in West End, directly in front of me. From 1855 and into the mid-20th century, each night a curfew was imposed and a fence was erected to keep First Australians out of the city limits. The track that ran along the boundary fence was later named Boundary Street. The curfews were put in place for segregation and discrimination. The truth is that I wouldn't know these facts from simply observing my neighbourhood. As I consciously observe the country around me, I realise that the land I walk on was once solely home to one of the oldest civilisations in history. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders are, after all, people that thrived for more than 50,000 years before European settlers arrived. In comparison, the Mesopotamians, one of the oldest documented civilisations, were only 5,000 years old. So if Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture is so prolific, why is it so minimal in my local area? Perhaps this is due to the fact that 250 years ago before colonisation, the population was comprised 100% of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, while the present day figure is only 3.3% of the total population. It would be fair to say, with such an influx of population, that the culture has been diluted. It doesn't help that the majority of the time since European settlers, there has been absolute destruction and systemic abuse of the people and culture. There's little surprise that it's hard to see the culture around me. From my mindful wandering, I arrive at the question, what can I do? I hope to begin by appreciating the civilization with such a rich history, languages, and understanding of nature. I've grown an interest and respect for the people that cared and appreciated this land long before the settlers arrived. There is a legendary story of an old Australian named Dundali who lived in Brisbane in the 1800s. He was a great leader who protected and fought for his land and people from the impeding European invaders. This is no doubt just one of countless stories from around Australia that resonates with all Australians. It is these stories that should be taught in schools, and these characters who symbolise bravery, courage, and self-determination that should be visible all around me. Thank you for listening.